So hi there everyone out there in terrible infant land. This is Logan and I'm here for first watch. My first watch. Actually, Hardy. Har har. Ha ha. But today I'm talking about Joker and my reactions to it.
Just smile.
Let's get into it. So Joker, what do I think about Joker? I thought Joker was, for the time that the movies come out and the subject matter within the film, I think it's a very topical movie. Very, very topical. I mean, you can see the obvious allegories that it makes within the context of this gothic world, Gotham City. The character of Arthur Fleck being this sort of recluse, if you will, a sort of loner, looking for someone to talk to, but no one wants to listen. No one cares. And he's already, emotionally disturbed, troubled individual, and needs help, and often asks for help. And literally no one wants to listen. I don't know how to do the whole spoilers or no spoilers thing, so if you want to watch this, there might be some spoilers in it. The movie starts off with a sort of garbage strike and sort of the politics just to set the world. We have the elder Wayne coming into play. I wanted to watch this movie. Have my trusty Laserdisc here of The King of Comedy, which I just watched, and look at that. The King is a Joker. And honestly, if you've watched this movie, Joker is pretty much a much darker version of this. This is like pure satire and absurdism to some degree. And I think Joker is much more surrealistic, but Joker is much darker, much bleaker. King of Comedy is very funny. Obviously, in King of Comedy, Robert De Niro wants to be sort of the Arthur Fleck, or the parallel can be made that Arthur Fleck is sort of Richard Pupkin within this film. Hopefully I said his name right. He's like, everyone I think as part of the joke says Rupert Pupkin incorrectly in the movie, but in Joker, Arthur Fleck is Richard man, I keep messing it up. Rupert, even I'm messing it up. Rupert Pupkin. It is kind of a hard name to say. I guess it is supposed to be hard. But anyway, the parallel of Arthur Fleck and Rupert Pupkin there's no way Todd Phillips, the director, didn't see this movie and say, this could be interesting to apply the skeleton of the King of Comedy to this. A lot of people say, it has like Taxi Driver vibes, but that's, I would think only within the world. Gotham City is very dark. Taxi Driver is very dark. You can compare the worlds as sort of interchangeable with one another. But to say it's like Taxi Driver, where the characters are the same, no, I would disagree. Definitely you could argue your cases for each one, but I think that Arthur Fleck is definitely the most demented out of all three. Some might argue Travis Bickle's point much clearer than sort of maybe what Arthur's point is, and they are very different. It might be interesting just to look at Taxi Driver, the sort of the triptych in this, if Taxi Driver was an inspiration, then to look at King of Comedy. But Jerry Langford, played by Jerry Lewis.
You don't say, folks, here's the punchline, you just do the punchline.
Exactly.
Get to the end, right, to tell your jokes. When he's discussing how you do stand-up on stage, and Pupkin has his own perceptions of it. I think one, for instance, wants something that maybe he doesn't deserve, but the other, Arthur Fleck in this instance, wants to be heard, wants to be noticed, wants to say that I have a problem and I need help. But number one, no one wants to listen, and number two, the world is already so crazy that even if someone did listen, what would be the point of listening to your problems? The subject of mental health is the big one that sort of leads into these sort of happenstances within the film. It's the part where this the Arthur Fleck character is on the train, and there's these sort of thugs that are bothering him, and he had an illegal gun on him, and he sort of just doesn't want to take it, and he shoots them. It reminded me about the incident in 1984 where Bernard Getz, you can look this up, it happened in New York on a subway. Some folks were threatening him on the train, and he had a gun because another incident that happened 3 years prior. He sort of got attacked, and it said thrown through a plate glass window. Basically, there was 5 men who attacked him, and he took revenge with this gun that he managed to procure, and he shot all of them. So all of them lived, I believe, but he did. When the trial went underway, he served 8 months. But anyway, there's the whole thing about vigilante justice and doing it that way.
Getz was found not guilty on the 4 counts of attempted murder and assault charges.
But the film really gets, darker. It gets ever the more dark as the film goes on. In this particular instance, Arthur Fleck sort of wants this fame, but he gets it so he can tell what the problems are. There's a scene where he's trying to find out the true identity of his past, and he goes to the mental health institution to get these records, and he says, how does one get into this place? And the person who's there giving him the files, he's giving him the records, and he's just looking at him like he's crazy. There's people you can talk to, but I don't want to talk to you. Go away. Like, what's wrong with you? But he's asking, how do people get in here? So it's already, the seeds are already being planted. And there's this whole other thing with talking to a social worker. They're going to shut down the program because no one cares about them. No one cares about Arthur. No one cares about those kind of problems. And he says, how am I going to get my medicine? And she just says, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't get you your medicine. You're on your own.
This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you?
These are all problems that we're dealing with right now. Obviously, people are going to talk about the violence aspect, which I'll just... If you see the movie, well... it gets violent. I'll say that much, but it's there, and it's becoming more prevalent. But begs the question: was the world always this way, or does it just seem to be worse now? And I think it's the latter, because we have social media now. We have constant updates about what everyone is doing in the world right now, if you want to look it up, right? So it deals with a lot of these problems. But Arthur Fleck sort of wants to be on TV. He wants to be noticed, and he thinks a good way to do it would be through being on a show not unlike the Jerry Langford show in The King of Comedy, which, interestingly enough, Rupert Pupkin has now evolved into the Robert De Niro's character in Joker, who has sort of the same deal that Jerry Lewis had as Jerry Langford on this show. Arthur Fleck gets on the show, but he gets there because Robert De Niro's character in Joker makes fun of him, and then there's sort of a fear response to get him back on the show and sort of interview him. So he gets his spot, at least to tell someone his story, but, I'll save that for what happens for the film. But anyway, he finally gets heard, we'll say that much. But anyway, I think the film's very topical, and for a mainstream film, I think it's interesting to do it that way, to address these sort of social concerns within the context of this mainstream film, and then have it be a sort of origin story. It is Gotham, and I don't know if Joaquin Phoenix is going to return. It's kind of a, you have to go to that place to play that type of role, but maybe Warner Brothers, we will finally get the Dark Knight Rises that should have been made, where the third one, it would have been Joker escaping from Arkham Asylum and battling Batman and doing whatever happens in Dark Knight Rises, right? But it would be Joker versus Batman Part 2, which I think would have been a much better movie in my opinion. But maybe for the Batman movie, The Batman, we'll get that. We'll see. I don't know.
Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.
Hope it didn't go on too long. Hopefully it made some points. Maybe you can put something in the comments if you agree or disagree or have another point to make. So until next time and another First Watch, this is Logan, and I'm signing off.